وصلاة ربي وسلامه ورحمته وبركاته على ذاك النبي الكريم نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد, we continue 7:01 p.m. Wednesday, September the 11th, 2019, which correlates on the Islamic calendar, which is now the 12th of Muharram, the year 1441 after the Hijrah of Mustafa alayhi salatu wassalam. As we continue in the chapter, Ya Ma'ashal Ikhwa, as we see the chapter which comes, Bab ma ja'a anna ba'da hadihi al-ummah ta'budu al-awthan. The chapter which comes that some of this ummah, some of the followers of the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wassalam, will worship idols. This tremendous narration on the authority of Thawban, where we know that great Sahabi narrated numerous tremendous narrations relating the calamities, or some of the calamities that will befall the followers of the Prophet ﷺ. And from them is this hadith. This hadith where you see that it contains a number of calamities that will befall the followers of the Prophet ﷺ. As you look at the hadith we were discussing, and we've reached towards the end of this tremendous narration on the authority of Thawban. Where we stopped last lesson, Ya Ma'ashal Ikhwa, says, وَإِذَا وُضْعَ السَّيْفِ فِي أُمَّتِي لَمْ يُرْفَعْ عَنْهَا إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. That if the sword, that if it's been unleashed amongst my ummah, that it will not be raised until the day of resurrection. If we look at the end of the hadith and everyone looks in their books, the Messenger of Allah, like we said in the last class, mentioned numerous atrocities or calamities that will befall the ummah of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, where sometimes or in certain places or in certain times it will become severe, and in other places at other times it might become lightened. But the point of the matter is these are still tests and trials that will befall this ummah, in which the Messenger of Allah mentioned in this tremendous hadith. Until when we reach Ya Ma'ashal Ikhwa, if we look in the narration, it says, once the sword has been unleashed upon my ummah, it will never be raised until the day of resurrection. As we said last class, you'll find that the Messenger of Allah in this narration, if everyone looks in a book, that the Messenger of Allah was in fear that if fighting was to take place between the Muslimin, it will not be raised until the day of resurrection. As this is another atrocity. This is another calamity. So you'll find in the first part of the narration, if everyone looks at the beginning of this narration, from those calamities is that the Messenger of Allah requested or asked our Lord Tabaraka wa Ta'ala that this ummah would not be destroyed by famine or drought that would generalize or would destroy all of the Muslimun. Then the Messenger of Allah, of course, requested and asked about the dominance and the power of the disbelievers against the Muslims. As this was another calamity, and as we see in front of us today that this is taking place, that the enemies of Islam, or the non-believers or the disbelievers who reject and hate Islam, have been given power against them. And this is what the Messenger of Allah said would occur. Also, the sword had been released upon the ummah of Muhammad ﷺ when Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu ardah was killed unjustly. He was killed unjustly radiallahu anhu and out of oppression. This is the meaning of the hadith. If everyone looks in their books, that if the sword has been unleashed, the meaning of it is the killing of Uthman radiallahu anhu is that where it started. And you'll find that since the murder of Uthman radiallahu anhu ardah, bloodshed and murder continued amongst the ummah since the killing of Uthman, and as a result of it, bloodshed will continue in this fashion until the day of resurrection is established. وَلَا حَوْلَ وَلَا قُوَّةَ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ. So it's atrocities after another atrocity, and a calamity after another calamity. For verily, Uthman was killed unjustly, and like we said, killing and fighting and controversy between the Muslims will continue until the day of resurrection. Notice in the last part of the hadith, or the last couple of lines, which is left, if you notice, it says, وَلَا تَقُومُوا حَتَّى يَلْحَقَ حَيٌّ مِّنْ أُمَّتِي بِالْمُشْرِكِينَ. If you look in your books, it says in the last part of the narration, that the hour also will not be established until a group or tribe from my followers will join or follow the polytheists. So the message of Allah also informed that his ummah, there will be followers from amongst them who will either leave the place of Islam or the maqar or the mahal or the place of Islam, and they would join the polytheists in their lands. As we said, that was one of the meanings, right, everyone? When the Prophet ﷺ, if you look in the hadith, what does it say? That the hour will not be established until a tribe or group of my ummah will join the polytheists. What is the meaning of the hadith? What did we say last class? We said number one, what does it mean? What did we say? That number one, they will leave off the land of Islam, and they will join the non-believers or the disbelievers in their lands. As you'll find the great Imam Fawzan ibn Abdullah al-Fawzan حفظ الله ورعاه وطال الله في عمره بالأعمال الصالحة. He said that number one, that it means أن يذهبوا إلى بلادهم ويسكنوا معهم ويكونوا من دولتهم وإما بأن يبقوا في بلاد المسلمين ولكن يكونون على منهج الكفار يرتدون عن الإسلام. So number one, it said that they would join and go to the lands of the disbelievers, and they would live with them and become a resident amongst them and be from their country. So that's one meaning, as we mentioned last class, right, everyone? What was the second one? It said, well, either they will remain in the land of the Muslims, but they will be upon the methodology or the ideologies or the conviction of the disbelievers. The non-believers will be upon their belief system, whereas they will apostate from Islam. And they will be upon the methodology of the disbelievers, even though they are in the land of the Muslims. Even though they are in the land of the Muslims. The Prophet ﷺ informed us, and everything that was mentioned in this narration happened. As you'll find, they are from the Muslims. They have joined the non-Muslims in their lands. It has become from their country. It has not migrated, for example, just to spread Islam or to spread the truth, or, for example, to study a certain science or knowledge that is not in their country, and then have the intentions on returning back to their country after they have attained that objective, which is to study that particular knowledge that the Muslims need in their lands, is to go back after they finish. All this is not their intention. Their intention is to remain amongst the non-Muslims until they die, which is incorrect. There is certain exceptions, and this is from them, as I just mentioned. But however, you'll find there are Muslims that their intention is to reside amongst the non-Muslims all the way up to when they die, even though they have the ability to migrate. As far as those who do not have the ability to migrate, that's something different. But those who have the ability, and they reside amongst the non-Muslims until they die, that's something that is what? Very dangerous. You'll even find that the great Imam, he goes on to say, Hafidhullah, he mentions, it says, that you'll find from amongst them exactly what the Messenger of Allah informed. He said, from amongst them who remain in the lands of the non-Muslims, and they did not migrate. Rather, they agreed with the non-Muslims and their Islamic rituals, fi tuqusihim ad-diniyya, in their Islamic rituals or their religious rituals, which comes as a result of it, the hukum or the ruling, meaning of the Muslims who live amongst them, they take the ruling of those non-Muslims, meaning they are from them, living amongst them. And he's choosing to reside between them. And from the Muslims who remain in the land of the Muslims, however, they embrace the ideologies of the disbelievers, such as shuyu'iyya, such as communism and nationalism, whether it be Arab nationalism, white nationalism, black nationalism, it does not matter. All of it is the ideologies of the disbelievers. It does not matter whether it's black nationalism, white nationalism, Arab nationalism, all of it is considered ideologies of the disbelievers. And all of it is disbelief. And if one goes, and even if he's in the land of the Muslims and he embraces it, he embraces the ideologies of the disbelievers, which comes as a result of it, that this narration of the Prophet ﷺ here applies to him, even though he did not leave off the land of the Muslims. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? So that's the meaning of this narration, that it's comprehensive for both of these meanings. Here, is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? It's comprehensive for both these meanings. So the first one is what, everyone? A little bit louder. Raise your voice. And I agree there. Keep in mind, as we mentioned, we said there are certain exceptions to go to the land of the disbelievers. There are certain exceptions. I mentioned some of them, which is the purpose of giving da'wah, the purpose of studying a science or a knowledge that's not present in the land of the Muslims. Going to that particular land, learning, and then returning. And even that in itself likewise has conditions, especially if the person is weak. If he's a weak individual in his religion, then he should not leave. Also, there's other exceptions that I don't have the time to talk about right now. But anyway, however, in this hadith, those exceptions that we mentioned, is it applicable to them here? The Prophet ﷺ is saying no. They are purposely leaving the land of the Muslims, joining the non-Muslims in their lands, even though they have the ability to remain in the land of Islam. They leave off that land with the intention to migrate and settle in the lands of the disbelievers and remain there until they die. That is very dangerous, and it is from those ayats in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had said that those who will die, in which the angels, that they say, فِيمَا كُنْتُمْ كُنَّ مُسْتَضَعَفِينَ فِي الْأَرْضِ أَلَمْ تَكُنْ أَرْضُ اللَّهِ وَاسِعَةً فَتُهَاجِرُوا فِيهَا فَأُولَٰئِكَ مَأْوَاهُمْ جَهَنَّمُ. As Allah ta'ala says in his book, he says that the angels will come to them and they will mention, what state were you in? And he will say to them, verily we were what? We were deemed, or we were rendered weak in the land. As Allah ta'ala mentions in his book that the angels would say to them, isn't not the art, wasn't it not the earth of Allah expansive so you can migrate within it? Verily those who will have a painful torment, or their abode will be the hellfire to the end of it, except those who did not have a way out. وَلَا يَهْتَدُونَ سَبِيلًا فَأُولَٰئِكَ عَسَى اللَّهُ أَن يَعْفُوَ عَنْهُمْ. Except those who are not able to find a way out, and they were not able to what? Be rightly guided until they were able to leave off their land, for perhaps Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will pardon them. But verily Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is merciful. To the end of the ayah. But as far as with this narration, as we mentioned here, Ya ma'ashal ikhwa, what did we say? That they are purposely leaving off the land, even though they have the ability to remain in the land of the Muslims. And they leave it off with the intention or the sole purpose to settle in the lands of the disbelievers and remain there forever. You don't find them giving any da'wah. You don't find them spreading any Islam. Rather, you'll find that they are actually being affected by the non-Muslims in their ways and the way they live. You'll find them being influenced and affected. If this is the state and the hal of the situation of the person, then, like we said, if he dies in this state, this is extremely dangerous. For we say, Ya ma'ashal ikhwa, the Prophet ﷺ, out of the wahy, the revelation of Allah, that he sent down upon his messenger, said that this will happen and it will occur, and we see that what? It is still taking place. طيب. Notice it says in the last part of the hadith, what does it say? Until a group of my ummah حتى تعبد فئام من أمتي الأوثان. Until a group of my ummah or groups of my ummah that they will worship idols. That is the point of reference in this chapter. What is the title of the chapter, everyone? Like I say, even though we cover these narrations, it's still incumbent upon one not to lose focus of why the great Imam put this dalil or put this evidence in the chapter in the first place. What's the title of the chapter? What is it? The point of the narration of why he used this as an evidence is in this one line here. If you want to circle it and put a line and put next to it the connection of why, if you want to put it short and brief, this is the reason of why he mentioned this narration in the chapter. Or you can underline it or what have you. That's the point of reference right there. Even though we mentioned a lot of benefits, we extracted, however, that one line is the reason of why he what? Rahimahullah. You'll see why it agrees with the title of the chapter. Until a group of my ummah what? Worships what? Idols. Clear. Clear as the sun in the sky. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? You could put a circle around it or what have you. And put it in bold letters. So you can keep the what? Keep the focus of why it was mentioned in this chapter. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? So that one line, if you didn't understand anything of what we mentioned, it's time already? I don't know, I think it's about maybe 3 minutes left. That's probably a little bit early. طيب. So the reason of why it was mentioned in the chapter is because of here. If one wants to put a circle around it, or highlight it, or put it in bold letters, or what have you, and put a note around it, that will be sufficient. طيب. So that's what you'll find Ahl al-Ilm that they mention and say, why the great Imam put this narration in the chapter. You see it, it's clear. You'll find a reason why he put it in the chapter because of his deep understanding and the fiqh that he possessed, rahimahullah. طيب. So it says that a group of my ummah, that they will worship idols. This is taking place right now. You'll find from a lot of the Muslims who say La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah, and they are worshiping graves, or they're worshiping the dead, or they are worshiping people who are wretched and righteous. Even though the righteous are not pleased with them worshiping them. You'll find that the Muslims are doing this. Exactly what the Messenger of Allah said occurred. And it's still what? Happening to this day. To this very moment, as you'll find there are a lot of those from the Ummah of the Prophet ﷺ who are grave worshiping. Worshiping what? Graves will raise domes on top of it, or structures that's built on top of it, and they believe that this is religion or this type of way is correct, and they actually call this to be correct monotheism, and rather they call the people who's correctly practicing Islam, they are the Khawarij. You'll find that this is taking place to this very moment, where everything has been switched and everything has been flipped. Those who are supposed to be given honor and aid, they are the ones who's deemed to be the enemies. And those who are the ones who are truly destroying Islam, and the ones who are dividing the ummah, and the one who is tainting and leaving a bad reputation and showing an uglified, vilified version, perverted version of Islam, they are the ones who are honored. And they are the ones who are given an ear to be listened to. They are the ones who are financially supported, and they are the ones who gain all types of aid. Everything has been switched these days. Rather, the people who uphold the truth, they are deemed to be the enemies. And they are the ones who are condemned. And they are the ones who's talked about in a very evil fashion. And they're the ones who's being disgraced and spoken ill of and being vilified and being condemned. In contrast to those who are calling to a perverted understanding of Islam, who are truly destroying it, and who are truly causing division, and who are truly the ones who are causing confusion, and who are distorting and altering the light in which the Prophet ﷺ came with, they are the ones you will find, like we said, are being honored. And they are the ones who's giving all types of aid and financial assistance into the end of it. So everything has been switched. So the Prophet ﷺ said that this was going to happen to his ummah, that there's going to be a group from them who will worship idols, even though it's not in the name of Wathaniyah, but it is Wathaniyah. even though it's not in the name of idolatry, but it's still idolatry, even though they might have changed it with the name of so-called Ahmed, who died from the righteous, and they worship him. But they say, no, he's from the righteous, and he was Muslim, and he said, La ilaha illallah. But still, the ideology and the method and the worship of what happened during the time of the Messenger of Allah still is there, regardless of whether or not you change the name from it being a name of a polytheist to the name of a Muslim. It's still polytheism. You worship the dead. You raise your hands and you supplicate to the dead. And you ask a person who's deceased for forgiveness or mercy or to change your life to something better. It is polytheism. Even though he might say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, or even though the people around you might be saying La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. The ideology is still the same of the polytheists of the past. Rather, as we discussed in other classes, you'll even find that people who are Muslim these days who are doing things that are worse than some of the mushrikeen during the time of the Prophet ﷺ. As you'll find that they're committing polytheism in the aspect of rububiyyah. Where you'll find from the Rawafid, from the Ithna Ashariyah, for the 12 so-called great imams that they say, who can conduct in this existence, which is polytheism and the lordship of Tawheed, which was something that not even a polytheist during the time of the Prophet ﷺ fell into. Which is, like we said, is to let you know, and we said this on many occasions, how far the Ummah Muhammad ﷺ has what? Gone beyond bounds, not even the polytheists during the time of the Prophet ﷺ transgressed, and they didn't even what? Say La ilaha illallah, even though they were in the state of kufr. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? So you'll find, like we said, with the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, what he mentioned here, that he said this is another calamity that you see to this day still happening. You'll find that the grave worshiping, or people saying that they become one with Allah, or Allah has become one with the creation, all these different types of calamities, which are the worst of calamities, which is considered some type of deviation or corruption in the foundations of Islam. Wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. So you'll find that the Prophet ﷺ wanted to say in the last part of the hadith, everyone's the time. Abdul Jalil, you want to call? You want to call it? You want to call it, Amir, or you want Abdul Jalil to call it? You want to call it? Or Abdul Jalil right here. You want to let him call it? Tafaddal. That's the sleep position. That's another sleep position. The arm is used that as a pillow. Sit in the chair. Anything you lean on, it's called a recliner. Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. محمد الوسيلة والفضيلة وبعث المقام محمود الذي وعده. طيب. So we said this is another calamity that will befall the ummah of Muhammad ﷺ, and everything that the Messenger of Allah explained or mentioned in this narration has occurred, and it is still happening. All of these are the reasons for why the state of the Muslims are in the state that they're in. When you're committing the most evil, most hideous sin that any human being could commit, then what comes as a result of it is humiliation, disgrace. That will descend from Rabbul Alameen. And also what brings humiliation upon the human being is sins, likewise. Sins also brings humiliation and disgrace upon the human being. But what is on a higher level than that is what you'll find, all these different types of deviation and the aspects of creed and conviction amongst the Muslims is what brings the ultimate disgrace. And this is what you see taking place today. But the Messenger of Allah mentioned another calamity. He said in the last part of the hadith, what does it say, everyone? He says, verily there will be masma ummah innahu sayakunu fi ummati kadhabun thalathun kulluhum yaz'umu annahu nabiy wa anna khatimun nabiyyin la nabiyya ba'di. So you'll find at the last part of the narration, verily there will be amongst my ummah 30 liars. All of them will claim that he is a prophet. He says, and I'm the seal of all prophets, there's no prophet after me. So when the Messenger of Allah mentioned about there will be liars that will emerge amongst his ummah, claiming prophethood. This started during his time, alayhi salatu wasalam, as there were people right before his death started claiming prophethood. You'll find that a lot of the Arab right before the time, rather at the time when the Messenger of Allah died, that some of them apostated. Yes, some of them apostated. Some of them embraced Islam, then they apostated. Yes, that happened. You'll find Ibn Kathir mentioned it. That was the reason why Abu Bakr had to fight them. It was two people that Abu Bakr fought, those who falsely interpreted zakat to only be during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, as Abu Bakr fought them, and the murtadun, they were apostates. Why were they considered apostates? Because they followed mutanabbi'een. They followed false prophets. As you'll find, Ibn Kathir mentioned that the Sahaba claimed, or a Sahaba believed, not claimed, believed that the one who believed there was a prophet after the Prophet ﷺ, that he was murtad, he was an apostate. That was the position of the Sahaba. Any person that followed a mutanabbi, followed the person who claimed prophethood and believed in him, the Sahaba's position that he was apostate. He apostated. That's the reason why Abu Bakr fought them. You find during this time, these were the main two people in the groups that Abu Bakr fought right after the death of the Prophet ﷺ. Rather, at the time when the Prophet ﷺ was about to die, alayhi salatu wasalam, as the emergence of the fake prophets started, such as the fake prophet named Aswad al-Ansi, who appeared right before the Messenger of Allah passed away, alayhi salatu wasalam. Right before he passed away, the emergence of Aswad al-Ansi, who was a shaitan. He was a shaitan. If you look to the story what Ibn Kathir even mentioned about Aswad al-Ansi, in his Bidayah wa Nihaya, you know that he had a jinn inside of him. As you'll find that the one who killed, and I'll talk about the story what happened to Aswad al-Ansi later. Anyway, when he was killed, they said that it was a moan or a scream that happened to prove that he has some type of shaitan inside of him. Because, as a matter of fact, I'm going to lead it to the side. Aswad al-Ansi was a person that emerged claiming prophethood. And a lot of people followed him. And another false prophet whose name was Musaylama al-Kadhab. Musaylama al-Kadhab. Who also appeared. They were the heads. There were others, but they were the main two that started fake prophethood. So it was Aswad al-Ansi, and it was also Musaylama al-Kadhab. And there was a lot of mutanabbi'een that emerged. There was a lot of people who claimed prophethood, who were fake prophets, who emerged after the death, before the death of the Prophet ﷺ, and after his death, and after his decease, after him dying, alayhi salatu wasalam. From them was Musaylim al-Kadhab. From them was Sajah. And it was a female. Sajah was a female. Sajah. There was another one whose name was Tulayha al-Asadi. Tulayha al-Asadi. Then you have Al-Mukhtar ibn Abi Ubaid. I'll talk about him later. Those who followed these individuals, what was the position of the Sahaba? What was the position of the companions for those who followed them? They were considered apostates. Anybody who followed a person who claimed prophethood, those people were considered apostates. If that's the case for people who followed the person, what do you think will be considered the individual who's calling the prophethood, what his state would be? You understand, everyone? The high level and the magnitude of his sin. If just the mere person who followed him apostated, what do you think would be the sin of the person who actually claimed prophethood? The level of sin he's committed and the high level of it, because it's a lie. Why? Due to the ayah, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-A'raf. What I'm coming in my mind, is it Surah Al-A'raf? I think it's Surah Al-An'am. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in his book, وَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنِ افْتَرَى عَلَى اللَّهِ كَذِبًا أو قال أوحي إلي ولم يوحى إليه شيء أو قال سأنزل مثل ما أنزل الله ولو ترى إذ الظالمون في غمرات الموت والملائكة باسطوا أيديهم أخرجوا أنفسكم اليوم تجزون عذاب الهون بما كنتم تقولون على الله غير الحق وكنتم عن آياته تستكبرون ولقد جئتمونا فرادا كما خلقناكم أول. Anyway, Allah Ta'ala says in his book, He says, who is the most oppressive for the one who fabricates upon Allah a lie? And they say, it is being revealed to me something, and nothing is being revealed to him. أو قال أوحي إلي ولم يوحى بشيء. أو قال سأنزل مثل ما أنزل الله. Or they say that I will reveal similar to what Allah revealed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, who is the most oppressive than the one who fabricates upon Allah a lie? Who says that it's being revealed to me something, and nothing is being revealed to him. Or they say that I will reveal similar to what Allah revealed. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala threatens them about death. وَلَوْ تَرَى إِذِ الظَّالِمُونَ فِي غَمَرَاتِ الْمَوْتِ وَالْمَلَائِكَةُ بَاسِطُوا أَيْدِيهِمْ أَخْرِجُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. He says, and when they will, how they will be, when these type of people, he said, when they will be facing the different types of anguishment of death. And the angels come out stretching their what? Stretching in order to what? Strike them with the punishment of Allah. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Fine. So at any rate, just to make a long story short, these people who are mutanabbi'een, this was the position of the Sahaba in regards to those who follow false prophets. From them, is like we said, was who? Musaylim al-Kadhab. The first one was Aswad al-Ansi, who appeared before the death of the Prophet, right before he died, alayhi salatu wasalam. Then Musaylamatul Kadhab was also one. There was a lot of them. Tulayha al-Asadi was the number 3. Tulayha with a ta, not a ta. Tulayha al-Asadi. They say it was related that he made Tawbah. They said he made Tawbah before he died. They said he made Tawbah. Also, they said Sajah, who claimed prophethood. And there was a female that claimed prophethood. Claimed prophethood, but they said she also what? They said it was related that she repented. Sajah with a hard ha. Sajah, there was a female. And she claimed prophethood. They say that she made Tawbah. Then you have Al-Mukhtar ibn Abi Ubaid, Al-Thaqafi, who the Prophet ﷺ said that he was going to emerge. He came from the land of Thaqif. Where the hadith comes to Sahih Muslim, where the Prophet ﷺ said, سَيَظْهَرُ مِنْ ثَقِيفٍ سَيَخْرُجُ مِنْ ثَقِيفٍ كَذَّابٌ وَمُبِيرٌ. كَذَّابٌ وَمُبِيرٌ. There will emerge from Thaqif a liar and a person who loves to kill people and shed their blood. Prophet ﷺ said, there will emerge from Thaqif a kadhab and a mubir. Mubir is the one who loves to shed the blood of a person easy. Kill him with a slight shubha. Any type of a slight type of what? Reason to kill, you'll kill him. And another person was a Kitaab. And you'll find that the wife of the Prophet ﷺ, and I think it was Salama, who Yusuf Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi was the one who loved to kill. Until the wife of the Prophet ﷺ said, the Prophet ﷺ said to me that there will come from Thaqif two people. One of them is a liar, and one of them likes to shed blood. And I do not think except you're the one who the Messenger of Allah talked about. And she was speaking about what? Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi. And the second was Mukhtar ibn Abi Ubaid al-Thaqafi. The Prophet ﷺ had predicted, due to the wahi, the message of Allah that was sent down upon Allah to the message of Allah, that these two people would emerge. One of them was Mukhtar ibn Abi Ubaid, who claimed prophethood, and the message of Allah ﷺ said that he was going to emerge and he was going to be a liar. He was going to be a Kitaab. He's a liar. And the Prophet ﷺ mentioned another narration, a Mubir. Mubir is the one who likes to kill, to shed the blood of a person or a life, or take the life, li'adana shubha, due to any reason that he can find. And they would say that was Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi. Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi. Notice they both were from the land of where? Thaqif. Mukhtar ibn Abi Ubaid was Thaqafi, and Hajjaj ibn Yusuf was also what? Thaqafi. Mukhtar ibn Abi Ubaid was a Kitaab, he was a liar because he claimed, what everyone? Prophethood. Is it clear what I'm saying? He claimed prophethood. He also caused a lot of fitna too, along with Hajjaj ibn Yusuf, which is known. Their story is long. Each one has their own story. Tulayh al-Azadi, Aswad al-Ansi, every one of them have their own individual story where they could spread a lot of corruption. Anyway, that's not the point of why we're mentioning this here. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned and said that these people will emerge, and they will cause confusion amongst the followers, amongst the ummah of the Prophet ﷺ, until they would spread a lot of corruption. And this is exactly what took place, exactly what the Messenger of Allah informed took place. You'll find that the Sahaba had set out in order to kill a lot of them because he condemned them to be what? Apostates. Or to return them back to the truth. If you'll find, even to this day, there's still people who are claiming prophethood. To this day, has not stopped. People who claim that they're Muslim, say La ilaha illallah, and then they also claim prophethood. From them, what we see in Philadelphia, and they're still spreading their different masajid amongst the areas where there's a concentration of the people of the truth, the Salafis. And those masajid are called the Qadianis, or the Ahmadiyya. Ahmad Ghulam al-Qadiani, the fake prophet who was sent by the British, by the UK. And that's exactly what he was. And he was also called the prophet the so-called fake prophet who had no miracles, because he didn't have not one. The fake prophet that was sent by the British. That's what his name was, Ahmad Qadiani. Ahmad Ghulam al-Qadiani. If you read his story, he was a shaitan, he was a Kitaab, he was a liar. And anybody who believes that Ahmad Ghulam was a prophet is an apostate. It's not Muslim. Is it clear what I'm saying? We say that generally. Generally, we say that. Whoever believes that Ahmad Ghulam al-Qadiani is a prophet, he is an apostate. Why? Because you have belied the ayat. Or Allah, you have rejected the ayat in the book of Allah. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in his book, مَا كَانَ مُحَمَّدْ أَبَا أَحْدٍ مِّن رِجَالِكُمْ وَلَكِنَّ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ وَخَاتِمُ النَّبِيِّينَ وَكَانَ اللَّهُ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in his book, he said that Muhammad is not the father of any of your men. However, he is the messenger of Allah. وَلَكِنْ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ. He is the messenger of Allah and he is the seal of all prophets. And Allah Ta'ala is seeing of everything. For the Prophet, Allah Ta'ala has laid down this ayat that the messenger of Allah is the seal of all prophets. There is no more after the messenger of Allah والسلام, that will come with a sharia. That will come with a legislation. There's a reason why I'm saying this. Why? Because Isa, we believe Jesus, the son of Mary, will descend. But he will not come with anything. He will not come with a legislation from Kitaab or Sunnah or any type of new legislation. He will not bring anything. So in actuality, the Prophet ﷺ is the final prophet sent to all humanity. He's the seal of all prophets. He came with the final message, the final legislation, the the final methodology, the final creed, the final belief, which is complete in every aspect. When Isa comes and he will descend in the last days and times, because he never died on the cross in the first place. He never died. That's the reason why he will descend. Because he's still alive, because he never died, nor did he was crucified. Never died on the cross at all. That's why he will descend, and he will what? He will bring the truth to his so-called followers who followed him, and these different types of ideologies that he was what? He died on the cross for the atonement of the sins of mankind, and all these other different types of nonsense that the people believe these days. That he died for the atonements of the sins of mankind, which was not true. And he will kill the pig in order to establish upon his followers, you are not supposed to be eating that despicable pig meat that you eat and filthy every day. And also he will oppose and he enforce the jizya upon the people, which is left in order to show that the final message truly and the final prophet truly is who, everyone? Muhammad ibn Abdullah alayhi salatu wasalam. Is it clear what I'm saying? Stop by your nails. Is it clear what I'm saying? طيب. So the message of Allah said that there were going to be people from his followers that's going to emerge amongst his ummah. They're going to say that they're Muslim. They're going to say La ilaha illallah, such as from the people we know today, spreading black nationalism, who is who? Farrakhan, who claims that he's a prophet, who thinks and says that he's a Nabi. He is a prophet. That's what he says. Rather, you'll find in recordings he says, that's too small of a word for me. That's what he even says. That's too small of a word for me. A person that utters this type of wording, you are outside the fold of Islam if you say this. You have belied the ayah and rejected the ayah in the book of Allah. He's not a prophet. If you believe that Farrakhan is a prophet, you have left the fold of Islam. Yes, you have left outside the fold of Islam. If you believe that Allah came in the form who had two parents that gathered in the hills of Europe somewhere, and they also made, and they had intimacy. One was black, one was white. While the father's name was Alfonso and the mother's name was Baby G, that got together in the hills of Europe somewhere and had sex. And then they had some man named what? Fard Muhammad, who was Allah. If you believe that, you have left the fold of Islam. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? If you believe this, now that Allah was named Farad or Fard Muhammad, who passed on a message to Elijah Muhammad, and actually his name was Elijah Poole. Elijah Poole, and you believe that he was taught by Farad Muhammad. So Farad Muhammad, so you're basically saying what the Christians say, that basically Allah was born in the form of a man. What's the difference between you and the Christians? And rather you even said what's so strange is you said that they what? Their parent, one of them was the devil, as you say, which is what? Who was white. One of them was white and one of them was black. That doesn't make any sense. One was named Alfonso, the other name was Baby G. Gathered in the hills of Europe somewhere, and they was intimate. Then they had Fard Muhammad, who was white. Fard Muhammad, who was Allah born. Yes, it is. All you got to do is go back to the history. That's exactly what took place. And he passed it on to Elijah Poole, or Elijah Muhammad. Then it got passed on to Farrakhan. Farrakhan is the last of them, even though they're still spreading their batil to this day. And then you have people who say that they're Salafi actually lecturing with them and saying they never did anything wrong. But any day. See how your reaction to people? See your reaction? Person who studied Medina 20 years are going to do a lecture with these type of people. For any reason. It's humiliating and disgraceful. So it's tawfiq. The tawfiq is with Allah. I don't care how many years you spend in Medina or the city of the Prophet ﷺ. Ultimately, the tawfiq is with Allah. How you would come back here, you would study in Medina, study Salafiyah and its foundations for over 20 years and come back to be a Hizbi Munharif and come back here to be a deviated Muslim. That is the most ultimate disgrace I've ever seen. That you be in a land of Tawheed, been in there for over 20 years, and you come back spreading batil and joining the Hizbis and aiding them in their numbers and taking their filthy money. That is the most ultimate disgrace I've ever seen. And do it in the name of Salafiyah. And then have the audacity to try to come and bring some batil dalil from Kitaab and Sunnah to justify it. And you have people from our cities following them. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. At any rate, brothers and sisters, you'll find that this is what from the different types of what the Prophet ﷺ said that will emerge from his ummah. People who will claim prophethood. And they will all follow, and there will be people from his ummah that will follow them. So the Prophet ﷺ was mentioning these narrations, warnings that this will emerge, and this will what? Happen. To encourage you to do it, or to encourage you to be on guard against it? Huh? To be on guard against it. Because all these things that the Messenger of Allah mentioned are tremendous calamities and catastrophes that will happen to the ummah and to the Prophet ﷺ. I mentioned the last part where he said, the last part where we end this off, where it says, لا تزال طائفة من أمتي على الحق منصورة. There will never cease to be a group from my ummah that will be upon the truth victorious. No one will harm them who goes against them, who lets them down, who leaves them off, who betrays them, to the end of it, until the affair of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes. So after all these calamities that have been mentioned, this long narration, and this calamity, after another calamity, after another one, after another atrocity, after another catastrophe, to the end of it, a person would say, subhanAllah, what's left? The Messenger of Allah mentioned all these different calamities that will happen to his ummah from the beginning of the hadith to the end. About famines, about also would take place as far as enemies giving power over the Muslims, liars, fake prophets will emerge. All these are calamities. People will follow them. There will also be narrations that we said, that my Prophet ﷺ mentioned and said, hatta. He says there's another narration where the Prophet ﷺ mentioned and said about, he says, hatta tahtaz alayatu nisa'i daws fi dhil khalasa or ta'buda alayatu. I think it says alayatu nisa'u daws dhul khalasa or dhul khalasa. He said that the hour not be established. He says until you will see women who are naked that are so-called out of worship, moving their backsides to an idol called Dhul Khalasa. Moving their backsides, meaning moving their hips and their butt out of worship to please an idol named Dhul Khalasa. It's another narration. All this is humiliation, disgrace. So the Messenger of Allah ﷺ mentioned this, and like we said, after all these different narrations, he mentioned it, said by mentioning the bushra, the glad tidings that will be left, which is what everyone, that there will never cease to be a group of my ummah that will be victorious upon the truth. They remain steadfast and firm upon the correct belief, the correct creed, the correct belief system, the correct methodology, until the affair of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes. There will always be those who remain steadfast and firm. In every time and in every place, even though some of them will what? Be in certain times, there'll be more, and in certain times, there'll be less. And in certain times, they'll be in certain parts, in certain lands, and then certain parts you'll find maybe they'll be empty from them. But just know for sure, there will always remain in the dunya, there will be a group from them. Always that will remain. Either they will, like we said, will be abundant in number at certain times, or they'll be less in number at certain times, and others. Depending on the what? The pre-divine and decree or destiny of Allah Ta'ala. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Jay. The Prophet ﷺ in the next narration, and we'll stop here, it says in the last part, إِنَّمَا أَخَافُ عَلَىٰ أُمَّتِي الْأَئِمَّةِ الْمُضِلِّينَ. We already read that. We already read that. I'm sorry, everyone. Verily that I want to pray for my ummah is also those ai-immah that will mislead or misguide my ummah. And we talked about that last class. We said from amongst them who could be what? Number one, there were rulers who enforce or impose upon the ummah false beliefs or corrupted beliefs, such as what happened with the time of Imam Ahmed ibn Abdullah Shaybani. During this time, from all the different khulafa who had imposed upon the nation to believe that the Quran was created. And they put them to test and trial by it. That if they didn't believe in it, they were what? Prone to a punishment that would come as a result of them denying it. Also, we said number two was what, everyone? What did we say last class? Number 2 was the meaning of it. Those a'imma. Tafadal, you answer Al-Hasan. You probably don't remember. Number 2. Ahsant. Those ulama us-su, scholars of evil, so-called scholars of evil. They say, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. وَمَا أَكْثَرَهُمْ وَلَا كَثَرَهُمُ اللَّهِ. How plentiful they are, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not make them plenty. There's a lot of people out there that have say La ilaha illallah and they're deviant and they're misguided. The Muslims late day and night. وَمَا أَكْثَرَهُمْ وَلَا كَثَرَهُمُ اللَّهِ. People who say La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah and they will mislead the ummah, lead them astray. They will come with decorated, embellished speech. Very what? Eloquent in their speech, very alluring. To allure you, to delude you, beguile you, snatch you by their what? Decorated speech until you become from their followers. As you'll find this happens a lot in these days and times. People who are what? Easily deceived because they don't even understand what they're saying. You'll find that some of these callers come with vocabulary that probably the listener don't understand. But just the mere fact that he understands, he thinks that he has a high educational level or academic level. So I might as well just follow him because I'm just so stupid and he just used these high vocabulary words. And mashallah, I just think he's just someone so educated, which doesn't mean a thing. As the Prophet ﷺ mentioned this in another narration, which has also been authenticated by the great Imam Sheikh Muqbil and also great Imam Al-Albani, أَخَفَ مَا أَخَافُ عَلَيْكُمْ مُنَافِقٌ عَلِيمُ اللِّسَانِ. Verily, what I'm afraid for my ummah is a hypocrite who is very learned in his speech. أَخَافُ عَلَى أُمَّتِي مُنَافِقٌ عَلِيمُ اللِّسَانِ. A hypocrite, very learned in his speech. Alimul lisan. His knowledge. Taught. Very eloquent. Prophet ﷺ also said another narration. Inna la fil bayani la sihra. Verily in clarification, is most definitely in it is magic. Inna la fil bayani la sihra. It's another narration. Verily in clarification, meaning the people when they address, and he's able to decorate his speech, and he's been given some type of gift to embellish it, so it can what? To allure the people in some type of misguidance. Verily, in this type of speech is magic. However, Ahl Ilm saying this is in the Kitaab At-Tawheed, is going to come, don't worry. The Ahl Ilm say there's 2 types of speech when the Messenger of Allah intended. Here, of course, what we extracted from this narration. He said, number 1 is what is condemned, which is haram. Meaning that you utilize your tongue, if it's been what? Taught properly of how to address people and how to decorate your speech, but you use it to mislead them or to misguide them. That's what the Messenger of Allah is talking about here with this type of magic. As we know that magic is that decorated speech, when a person is given a speech, can be what? Very, very what? Decorative. And you can have a person listening to him, it's like a person being hypnotized. You listen, you can look at him and listen, ooh. He's been given some type of what? Talent in order to what? Make the people gravitate towards what he's saying. Right or wrong, everyone? It's been people that's been given that. Especially from those what? Those learned shayateen out there who know that they have that. They have that ability, and when they bring some type of what? High vocabulary or some type of fasaha, some type of high eloquence, if you utilize it in order to misguide the people, the Messenger of Allah is saying it here, verily in speech, most definitely in it is magic. So he's talking about the one who's utilizing it in order to mislead the people. Then he said in another part of the narration, focus Musa, in another part of the narration, where you'll find the Ahl Ilm mentioned saying, what is intended by it is when a person utilizes decorated speech, however, to establish and uphold the truth. That is praiseworthy. To establish and uphold the truth, because the truth deserves to be decorated. Not to the point, of course, where it goes over certain people's head, unless you're aimed at a certain audience or what you want to speak to, especially when you're rebuttaling certain people. Sometimes you have to step it up a level to step up to show that exactly you'll find the Ahl Ilm what they do, as Shaykh al-Islam did, as when he was refuting the philosophers and he was refuting the people of logic, he took their own terms and he flipped it against them. So it's nothing wrong with using their vocabulary if you're using it in order to what? Establish the truth and rebuttal their falsehood. There's nothing wrong with that. Because that's what Shaykh al-Islam did with the philosophers and the people of logic. He took their terms and he flipped it against them. And you'll find that a lot of Ahl Ilm, when they was refuting the people of falsehood, they stepped it up. They stepped up their eloquence to let you know that Allah also gave us gifts to what? To be decorated just like you. And nobody uneducated over this side. We know exactly what we're doing. And that's what Shaykh Rabi' had did against a lot of people who are what? Refuted. You'll find that even he would stand out in his speech and in his lugha, coming with the same type of speech or better, refuting their nonsense. To say, we're just as educated as you. Don't think just because you're using a little bit of decorated speech that people are stupid over here. And he would go up a notch in the level of his language and rebuttal them with their own nonsense. So there's nothing wrong with that. You understand what I'm saying, everyone? When you're utilizing decorated speech in order to establish the truth, that's praiseworthy. Because it shows that you're just as educated and you can reach a high academic or level of academics, and you likewise you are well grounded in what you know, and to now decorate the truth with that type of speech is also praiseworthy. We're talking about in a manner to misguide or mislead the people. That's what's dispraiseworthy. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Is it clear? But the Prophet ﷺ had fear for his ummah, what, everyone? I'm afraid for my ummah there will be people who has learned and decorated their speech and will what? Mislead them. We see them today. To this day, this is happening right now. We'll stop here, inshallah, because we're going to pray. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. سبحانك اللهم بحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Any questions about the lesson? تفضل حسن.